Hey everybody, I'm Ross Evans, founder and CEO of Xtracycle, and it's my true pleasure to be here with you today. It's noon here, Pacific time in California, and wherever you are in the world or at any time, thanks for joining in. I'm going to cover something I'm deeply excited about. As you heard last week, we launched the partnership EdgeRunner Bosch combo and showed it in its mainstay color and styling, which I'm just really happy with, this sort of the black and tone on tone. This week, it's actually just a crazy unveiling of the next version. Now, it's truly, I decided not to do the full unveil because many of you have already seen this bike. It was in front of our Eurobike booth trade show setup. It was in Interbike, and it's just recently had the centerfold of Bicycling Magazine's Buyer's Guide. So it won't be the first time for many of you to see this bike, but I wanted to tell you a little story about how we ended up with this. If you can see that picture, it's a shot that Shannon took of me as we were building out the dome, the geodesic dome, in this off-grid retreat spot in the Sierra Nevada foothills. So if you know the history of Xtracycle, we moved from when I was at Stanford up into the Sierra foothills. Kipchoge and I had this vision of community and living off the grid, and long story short, this became sort of a hideout for me as I built out a place that I could kind of retreat to on the river. Now, the way I came across this property was actually, it was totally, there was no easement to it. So, of course, most people didn't want to buy a property like that, but I decided that sure enough, I would buy it because we had these superpowered bikes. And we actually just hand dug a trail to kind of ride out the distance, and we began hauling all the stuff to carry everything, the wood, the pipes, everything, to get the geodesic dome and all the accoutrement built up out there. And it really kicked off for me what I feel like was a continuation of our early spirit of adventure at Xtracycle, but in particular, when I had a chance to design this bike, this combination EdgeRunner Bosch, Xtracycle EdgeRunner, I wanted to make one version, and that's what I'm showing you today. We have a very, very limited number we're making. Currently it's about 20 that will be available for pre-order. So if this is for you, I want you to know now's your time to pick one up. We really could only make a few of them, so it's just kind of one of those special things. If you decide to get in on it, we will not be making this bike again. But what I went to do when I set out to make this was a bike that there's a combination of things in this, and it's kind of inspired by this story. I guess I'll show you here another picture of Shannon as we got the skin on the dome. All those parts were carried out by bike, and what I wanted was a bike that could ride off-road. So I put a really fat knobby tire on. It's called the Holy Roller. It's a Maxxis tire. It's got a nice beefy rims and all the strong parts, of course. It's also got more of a kind of what I would call a downhill BMX kind of style bar. So it's very rigid, which is important when you're really, really loading up your bike. You just want to have the maximum amount of control. And to couple with that, we actually put a very beefy kind of BMX style fork on it. So a straight blade, non-taper fork. And when you add that to what I also called out as just this sort of fun design feature of the colors and the racks, I told you last week that we created the new Porter rack for it, and there's now going to be the Porter pack coming out. I wanted to tell you a little bit of the origin of this bike. So beyond the early days of adventure and really wanting this bike to be a bike you could ride off-road, on-road, I will say if you're not thinking about off-road, but you'd like to have that as one of your options, like for us here, to be able to take off for a weekend adventure. But most of the time I'm taking my son to school, I'm getting groceries. So it's really about kind of this combination of adventure and life, what we kind of came to call the everyday adventure, but then there's the extra special adventure. So you can see in this picture actually some of the great folks behind this. On the right, actually I'm not sure if the sides will work the same for you as for me, but there's a guy with a camera in his hands, that's Brett, and a woman with a yellow backpack on the left, and that's Karin, and those are the proprietors and founders and creators of the New Wheel in San Francisco. And I just want to give a big shout out to Brett and Karin. Those guys were just instrumental in encouraging us to do this. They're deeply knowledgeable about e-bikes. They're one of the most pioneering e-bike shops in the world, as I understand. They do the unusual, which is these guys actually show up at Eurobike, even they're a US company. And so they turned up right in this moment. This was Xtracycle HQ out in the parking lot at the Eurobike, the huge Eurobike trade show last summer. And you also see a couple of other people from Bosch. So we pulled in the Bosch core team, and they helped us literally like assemble this thing on the AstroTurf that I had bought at the hardware store in front of our little RV. Crazy times, but just wanted to give you a little view into how this thing came together. This is actually the first time we programmed the thing, so that's Eileen from Bosch, who's just been an awesome supporter of the project. Get her laptop out there on the porter rack and getting it going. This is showing it to some distributors again inside the show. It was super fun zooming around the show, boombox on the front. This is one of my favorite things. On the back is Luigi, our stalwart and awesome and just fantastic partner in Europe, based out of Milan, serving all of Europe. And on the front, proving that the porter rack is capable of carrying more than its stated 9 kilograms or 7 kilograms or whatever it is our great partner William, and one of our shops, one of our Italian shops there, who's riding it. So this is out in front of the Eurobike, again, just good times. This is fast forwarding to the outdoor demo. This is another great person in the mix, Claudia, who runs the US office for Bosch e-bikes. She's testing and riding, I think it's Dave on the back there, just rocking out around the demo track, having a great time. And then this is Klaus, who's actually the Bosch global e-bike leader, president, and he's just been a fantastic. Sometime I'll tell you guys the story of how he came to know our bike when one saved him when he was out at that same demo day, and he got a flat tire when he was out on a road ride, and a dealer scooped him up and gave him a ride back, and the grand irony, of course, of the Bosch EdgeRunner saving the day for him. And this is it. This is the big unveiling at Interbike. You can see the amount of media and interest and attention there. Just a truly special combination, and for me a high moment, just to bring together all the adventure and all the dreams and all the parts that I told you about last week around the Bosch, but also, you know, ultimately wanting to create an awesome bike that would work well for just all the adventures, all of life. So just to review, I want you to kind of understand this bike is just like every EdgeRunner. You get the capacity to carry virtually anything, but even more so now you see that beefy front tray on there, and the custom fantastic porter pack that will also go onto there. It's got the low center of gravity that the EdgeRunner's become just known for, and fantastically capable for carrying not only kids, but, you know, all manner of things. I think I might have told you guys before that I actually loaded up a small sailboat on there last summer when the family was at a lake, just to see if I could do it, and sure enough I hauled the thing out of the water and up onto land and all the way back to the car, saving us a fair bit of lugging for that thing. Of course, it's steel frame. This is chromoly steel. Really just something to understand about chromoly. It's a specialty material, and these days in manufacturing, it's kind of a boutique material. There's not as many factories that have the expertise to work with chromoly steel. It's much cheaper and easier to work with aluminum, and so it turns out it's actually more energy efficient in many ways, and I might not have told you that, but you know, you might know that TIG welding is an electrical process, meaning it uses electrical current to weld, but actually our factory is primarily powered by wind power. So this is a wind powered, TIG welded chromoly steel frame, just made in just the highest quality that I could find in the world, and I'm just really excited to bring it to you so you can just have a life of fun and longevity as all of our bikes and components, you know, grow with you and your family and your life and your adventures wherever they may be. Of course, safety is something that, you know, I always like to say safety third, fun and safety. But this bike has just kind of got it in spades. It's going to be an easy bike to ride. It's going to be, you know, able to hold all your stuff and not, you know, one of the great features of our bags is they hug everything in towards the bike, and it's one of the things that you'll want to look for as you try these out, or if you know Xtracycle, you'll know that our bags have always been designed to hug the load in towards the bike, because the handling of the bike is actually driven by the kind of the stability of your cargo and not having stuff shifting around. Of course, it's just, you know, it's the greatest thing I come up with, so no doubt I'm a big believer in it. So yeah, just again to cover briefly why electric. It flattens the hills. It makes you feel like you got superpowers. It's not a necessity. It's something that I've just been surprised. I was very early on a guy's like, well, I'm a strong rider. I don't need electric assist. It's added weight, added complexity, and yet with this Bosch integration, I can honestly say this is going to provide the long-lasting value, of course, added to the adventure and all the other things that you'll actually tackle with it. I feel like this is the most adventurous bike I've ever made. Of course, there's the question of why Bosch. Many people will wonder, and I was trying to think about this the other day, and I realized that, I don't know any of you have ever bought tools from Harbor Freight, but that's kind of considered like a very low-end tool supplier, but it has its place. And I bought a belt sander from Harbor Freight a long time ago. It actually broke recently, but I used it maybe once, I don't know, every couple months it seemed like, but for the couple minutes I used it, it was just the right tool for the job. However, what I also noticed is that it didn't hold up over time, but it was kind of like I picked it because I didn't need to rely on it. It was a really minor tool in my shop. And whereas for the other tools that I have, like the grinders that I use regularly, or the drill press, or the impact driver, I got the best stuff because I'm still using those things like, weekly, daily, and I really wanted them to hold up. And obviously, as you know probably well, Bosch, of course, makes parts for cars, and the connectors are super important that you don't get, an electric system. It's like those little things that end up killing you. Just even just having it go out of commission for a couple of weeks and having to lug it to the shop. I mean, nobody wants to do that when your bike has actually become a mainstay. And so for me, it just became clear that we needed to give our customers and our community the best possible version of this, and that was absolutely without a doubt integrating with Bosch. My basic call to action today is that this bike just somehow tickles some part of your brain that says, I would love that. I just encourage you to log into our website and pre-order one now. It's absolutely this is it. This is the one. This is the bike you'll be getting. You can see it comes with the bags, the carry-all bags in the back, and what you might not see is that all the printing is reflective, so you'll be extra visible. The porter pack on the front has just not even showing its massive capacity that you can do. It's got 2 cell phone pockets. Will even fit the iPhone 6 Plus or some massive tablet if you want to put that in there. Truly a fantastic bike. Comes with the stability of a dual center stand, adjustable to what terrain you want to do. If you want to prop it up in various ways, it's one of the key features of the kickback. This is an extremely limited supply, like I said. With the first ones that are coming in, we're going to have some going out for media, so it looks like we'll have about 20, which I don't know how long that'll last. So again, if this speaks to you, I just encourage you to log in. If you have questions, feel free to send us an email. Log into support area and just ask your questions if you have them, and maybe we'll fire another video off if we get a lot of questions and we need to answer them in that way. As you see in this picture, this limited edition Bosch bike, I've been riding one around for the last, well, actually I had to send it off to bicycling to get it reviewed, but before that it was my go-to, and I just absolutely have loved using the porter pack and the porter rack. It's a whole new dimension to the Xtracycle product line. I think you're going to love it too. All right, so just to close this call out, I wanted just to tell you, in a way, I think we were brainstorming how we could really launch this thing and have a fun time with it and capture the spirit of adventure and really actually put these bikes into service to something that was close to what I would love. And I haven't done this before. It's kind of a cool throwback to when I was leading trips for kids and wilderness EMT and really into kind of backcountry stuff. As well as pioneering that property. I thought what we would do is open up an invitation to those of you who buy this bike. If you want to join in, I'm going to lead an adventure, kind of an off-road, on-road, camping adventure this summer or later this fall. We'll see kind of what the timing is. So if you get one, know that you'll get an invitation to that. It would be my pleasure to meet you, to join you, have either first or mid-year or whatever. Maybe you'll have already had it for a little bit by the time we do the ride. But if that sounds fun to you, just know that that's something I'm excited to share with you, so we can swap stories, create new stories, and really kick this thing off in the way that this is the bike of the future. That might sound corny. I guess it doesn't really matter about the future. Like, I'm loving it right now, and I know when you get yours, you're gonna love it too. So if this bike is for you, please do order one up. You'll be just super happy that you did. Thanks so much for your time today, and we'll look forward to seeing you on an adventure soon.